to tell my story. Hey y'all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit all notification bells. I hope you guys are doing wonderful and awesome. I just want to talk about me and then I'll move into the rest of this video. I pray for peace, understanding, and all of that stuff. If you are dealing with any of these topics that I'm getting ready to talk about, find someone that you can confide in and trust and tell them, okay? So, I was real young when I first got raped. And who's ever watching this video, I just want you to know you don't never have to be afraid of talking or telling your story or, anything like that. And I also want to tell you, you are beautiful inside and outside, and let nobody tell you that. Even, I don't care what you're going through in life, know that you are enough, okay? Know that you are special. You are wonderfully and beautifully made. You were chosen by God, okay? Okay. So I was real young, like I was saying, when I got raped. And I have been raped a lot. And my mom was like on drugs and everything. She was on drugs, and I lived with her, of course. I lived with her, and it was horrible growing up, with my mom, especially like someone that did drugs. And sorry, I just had some flashbacks, but it was hard growing up with her, you know what I mean? And we were at this house with one of her boyfriends or whatnot, and he kept like coming on to me, and stuff, and I was like, ugh, I was like, ugh, what you doing? And stuff. And then he was like, if I would go into the kitchen, he would come into the kitchen, and talk. Sorry if y'all see me doing stuff like that. Sorry, it's a habit. It still bothers me to this day. So he would come into the kitchen and like kind of rub on me and stuff, and I would be super, super nervous and scared. And, I'm just like, oh my God, like, this ain't happening. This is not happening. Like, what? Like, oh my gosh. And I remember one particular time he came into the kitchen, and I was washing dishes, and I remember my hands was in the dishwater, and he came in there. When I say I shook so hard, the dishwater I made suds all over again. I mean, my hands were literally, like, my whole body I was that scared and I was that nervous, and then he just kept saying stuff, and he was just like, yeah, you're pretty, and you're this, and ooh, and doing all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm just, like doing this, and I'm like, like, oh my gosh, and I know he see me shaking, didn't care, didn't bother him. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm in my mind, I was like, okay, I gotta tell. And then he whispered, he was like, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you. I'll kill your mama. Child, I was like, I'm telling you, gonna have to kill us. You gonna have to kill me. Because I was like, in my mind, I was like, how can you be that hateful and evil? Like, you really, this cold-hearted to where you're doing wrong, and to cover up your wrong, you would do something like that? Like, oh my gosh, who does that? Like, what the heck? So, I was like, and then he came, he just kept bothering me, kept touching all over me. And I remember it was my two younger brothers there, but they was, babies. They didn't understand what was going on and stuff like that. And I was like, oh no, I have to talk. I gotta say something. So, at the time I chose to say something to my mom, I think I went in the room to where they were. It was like the same day. And because I was scared, and I was just like, no, I'm going to say, like, dude, we finna be fighting. And I'm just like, look, it's all kind of stuff up in here. You finna get hit with something, So she was high. She was drinking, she was high, so she was not coherent. So she was there and not there. Let me just say that. So I said, I was scared and not nervous, and I said, Mom, I said, he touched me. He keep touching me and everything, and she was like, not him, nuh-uh. I said, Mom, he did. I said, every time you leave or you go somewhere or you do something, I was like, he come in there and he keep touching me, he keep bothering me. And I was like, I was just like, look, Mom, he keep touching me. She a liar. She a liar. I would never do that. I never do that. And I'm like, yes, you did. Yes, I didn't understand. All I understood was you did something wrong. Let me tell, because that's what you were taught. Hey, if somebody do something, you tell you this. So in my mind, that's right. And I didn't understand the part where they forgot to tell me that he's going to deny, he's going to lie, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. They forgot to tell me that one important thing. They forgot to tell me a couple things, the chaos and all of what could happen. They forgot to tell me that. They just told me it was okay to talk. Okay, so there will be some chaos. There will be some consequences. There will be all kind of stuff that come up. But talk, say something. So he was like, she a liar, she a liar. And, I remember my mom, she was like, girl, he been good to us. And, he put us in his house, girl. He ain't gonna do nothing like that. I'm like, Ma. So when I left out of the room, I think she asked him, did you touch her? And he was like, don't ask me that. I never would do that. And he beat my mom. He beat her. He beat her with a belt. And at first, I kind of blamed myself for that. And I was like, oh my God. Like, oh my gosh. So I called my brothers and I told my oldest brothers what happened. I told them everything and stuff. So my oldest brothers came there. Of course, they came there to kill him and all of that. And my brother was like, bruh, I do believe they fought him. They beat him up. And so we had to leave out of there and everything. And I was just like, oh my gosh, and my brother, and I'm just crying, I'm upset and stuff, and my brother, and I'm like, I'm sorry. My brother was like, don't you be sorry. What do you have to be sorry for? What are you talking about you sorry? He was like, no. Excuse me, I was drinking some water. He was like, you don't have nothing to be sorry for. You don't have nothing to be, you didn't do nothing wrong. You did the right thing, tell and stuff. And they were, just saying, just telling me like, no, you did the right thing and stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So we went through that. So that's just half of the story. So, well, let me go a little deeper. So, years later, after I held it against my mom because other situations happened. And I told my mom, I said, we went to another one of her friend's house, her boyfriend's house. And I remember I was eating cantaloupe. I was eating cantaloupe, and I said to him, I was eating cantaloupe and I was afraid, and I said, he said, what's wrong with you? And I said, are you gonna rape me too? And he said, what? He said, wait, what? He said, oh my God. And he said my mom's name, and he said, what? He said, I never would do that. And he broke down crying. He started, this is another person, and he just bust out crying and stuff. He was like, oh my God. He said, I never would, do nothing like that and stuff. And he told my mom, he was like, you can't stay here. He was like, you can't. She said, I don't want this, in my house. He wasn't like being mean or whatever, because he said, I'm not being mean. He said, but that scared the life out of me. He was like, your daughter has been through a lot, and my mom, like I said, a drug addict and stuff like that. And so, we left, and so other things began to happen. Come to find out, I wasn't the only one that the first person touched. So, Jesus, thank God I'm still here, man. So, years went by. The first person that touched me, he ended up dying. And so my mom came by and said, wait, let me just say this part. So I was on my way to a school dance, and I had needed some money, and the person that raped me or whatever, me and my associate ex-friend or whatever, I wanted to go to this dance. I was, wilding out as a teenager and stuff. And so this particular time, I was just like, you know what? I was like, so-and-so lived down the street, whatever. I was like, man, we finna go over there. So I went over there, and I felt good when I did this, y'all. Went to his house. I knocked on his door, and he opened the door. And I said, look, there's a school dance I need to go to, and you're going to give me some money. He was like, I ain't giving you that. I said, look, you're going to give me some money. I said, you took my innocence from me for no reason. I said, I didn't do nothing to you. I was a young girl, just living her life and everything. And I said, you took something that belongs to me. My innocence, my precious, my mind, my soul. You took something that was not yours, and I just started screaming and hollering. there, at his apartment complex and everything. And, and I just began to scream. And so my friend, he was just like, oh my gosh. He was like, no, he did that to you. So he emptied his wallet out, gave us the money and stuff. And I don't know what came over me in that moment, but I've always remembered that you have the right to confront. You have the right to say something, So after that, a while after that, he ended up dying. So my mom, she came in, she was like, oh yeah, so-and-so died. And me and this person, I'm not going to disclose, we both looked and was like, and we had no idea that we had, this person did the same thing. And we both was like, so he raped me. Same words. And we both looked at each other and was like, you too? And at that moment, we was just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, all of these years. What am I saying? I'm saying, be careful, parents.